On a near-future Earth suffering from extreme desertification, draconian measures have been put in place for potable water rationing. Scientist joins a hand-picked team of elite personnel on a mission to the Moon. During a perilous 24-hour mission on the Moon, they have to retrieve samples from an abandoned research facility steeped in classified secrets. The episode begins with a cryptic scene where a lone astronaut, clad in a bulky spacesuit, stumbles through the abandoned corridors of Balhi Lunar Research Station. The astronaut collapses, seemingly struggling to breathe. The story shifts to Earth, where a severe water shortage has devastated the planet. Water is rationed, and society is divided into classes based on access to water. The government tightly controls resources, and the population struggles to survive. The government announces a secret mission to the Moon to retrieve a mysterious sample from the abandoned Balhi base. The mission is critical, as the sample could potentially solve Earth's water crisis. Mr. Kim visits Dr. Song Jian about her astrobiologist papers. She tells him she's no longer interested in astrobiology as there's nothing in space. Mr. Kim explains that Director Choi wants an astrobiologist on a mission, and she has come recommended. He tells her it is at Balhi Center, which raises her interest, and after her meeting, she looks at a memorial box for the deceased Song Won-kyung. Her sister, Han Yun-jae, the captain of the mission, introduces himself to Song Jian the following day. They both examine the memorial for a tragic event that happened at the station 5 years ago. Han Yun-jae tells Song Jian to reconsider going to the station. It's almost like he's suggesting she should not go. The other crew members then introduce themselves: Gong Soo-chan, Kim Hee-sun, co-pilot Eun Ji-young, and Team Dr. Hong Gaeang. The team is briefed. They need to go to the Moon and retrieve an unknown sample from Balhi Station that was closed due to a radiation leak. They have 24 hours from landing to retrieve it, which could be at 3 different locations. Song Jian is concerned that they do not know what the sample is, plus it sounds like a suicide mission. Director Choi insists they are none the wiser as well regarding what the sample is. Captain Han Yun-jae states that this is like any other mission, but Song Jian raises how the outlook looks bleak with a 10% chance of survival, and so, the crew journey to space and head to the Moon. It's revealed that Mr. Huang has joined the team too, the only crew member who has visited the station. As they approach the lunar orbit, their shuttle encounters serious technical difficulties. The shuttle experiences critical malfunctions while approaching the lunar surface, making it impossible to execute a safe landing. Due to unforeseen problems, they cannot properly align their descent, leading to a high-speed, uncontrolled crash. With no alternative, the shuttle crash lands far from their intended destination, Balhi Lunar Research Station. They barely manage to escape the damaged shuttle before it falls into a crater. The crew manages to get off the ship safely, but their communication systems are destroyed. They will not be able to talk to the team on Earth. The crew is over 7 kilometers away from Balhi Station. But that's the least of their worries. Their ship falls down the cliff edge to its destruction. They are astronauts without spacecraft. The captain says they should head to Balhi Station on foot, and a rescue ship will come to get them. One of the crew members is fatally injured and dies, in the process, underscoring the dangers of their mission. The crash leaves the crew with a critically low oxygen supply, forcing them to ration their breathing and hurry toward the station. With oxygen depleting, they must reach Balhi before running out of breathable air. The surviving crew makes their way to Balhi Station, which appears abandoned and eerily quiet. As they explore the dark, deserted hallways, the sense of unease grows. They manage to enter the station and start exploring the dimly lit and abandoned facility. Episode 2 opens with a flashback. Song Jian looks into a file regarding her sister Song Won-kyung. In her sister's messages, she describes the dark spots on the Moon as the Silent Sea. A message pops up when the file is decrypted: "Find Luna." As they move deeper into the station, they find the corpse of a former crew member. The body shows unusual symptoms, like appearing bloated and drowned, despite being in a dry, airlocked environment. Dr. Song inspects one of the bodies and notices that the victims appear to have died from internal drowning, with no apparent wounds or external injuries. It becomes clear that something sinister happened at the station, and their mission may be far more dangerous than they were led to believe. They find signs of past struggles, damaged equipment, and scattered documents, indicating something terrible happened before their arrival. This confuses and disturbs the crew, as there is no logical explanation for how these people could have drowned in a lunar research facility. The team eventually makes it into the main hub area and works together to turn on the power. One by one the hallways illuminate, leading to the entire base groaning to life. The communication system is still down though, but more pressing is the fact the radiation levels are okay and there seems to be a solid amount of oxygen too. Dr. Song decides they should probably do an autopsy on the guy to find out. But for now, they venture further into the base, believing it wasn't radiation that killed him. Nothing is as they first thought. Captain Han wants to press on and continue exploring, but Dr. Song disagrees. She thinks they need to examine the body and find out what the cause of death is. The first step of this comes from activating the air filtration system, which helps make the rest of the base accessible. Pulling up the 3D schematics brings up another, more pressing issue. They need to avoid contamination in order to reach the machine room. That includes going through 8 different gates. The safest route would be the main gate, but Captain Han decides to split the group into 3 teams. Captain Han reaches one of the storage rooms and attempts to pry it open. While he does, poor Hong notices that something is blocking their path, and that something happens to be a whole stack of dead bodies, piled in. This time though, they're the crew members. It's becoming increasingly obvious that whatever happened here is not from radiation. The drowning mentioned earlier does seem to be a direct result of this. Dr. Song perks up again over the radio, telling Han they should identify the bodies. However, he hits back, telling her they shouldn't jeopardize their mission for her own personal curiosity. She questions the secrecy surrounding the mission and suspects that the samples they are searching for might be connected to the researchers' deaths. Eventually, the group ventured into the different storage rooms. With the other 2 teams coming up short, unfortunately, all the vials are empty. As the team continues their exploration, they encounter more signs of the disaster that befell the base. They find the body of a scientist who appears to have died in a violent struggle. A strange biosignature then pops up on the periphery of the scanner. That's certainly unnerving, and it's enough to push Jisoo into covering for Dr. Song while she heads off to the infirmary. Crewmember Su-chan, to retrieve a hidden intact sample capsule, touches a corpse, which, upon contact, releases minuscule particle droplets that enter Su-chan's eyes. While the rest of the team searches different parts of Balhi Station, Ji-soo decides to explore independently in search of the mission's objective, the classified water samples. He enters a storage unit, which contains various sealed containers and research equipment. While searching, Ji-soo finds a single viable capsule that appears to be untouched and still functional. Dr. Song races back to her starting point where she finds Jisoo alive and well. He pries open the storage room doors holding a vial of water. He's suddenly pulled back into the room by something, which pulls him up to the ceiling and chokes him out. The sample he had is slowly pulled away under a fallen shelving unit. Something has been stalking the crew, and as this shadowy figure slips away, Soo-hyuk appears just in time and sees Jian crouched down on the floor. Jian inevitably comes under fire for leaving Jisoo alone. With a furious Captain Han demanding she hand over her body cam to figure out what's going on. Checking her footage, Soo-hyuk, Han, and Dr. Song all watch as Jisoo is strung up again. Realizing this isn't as simple as they once thought, Han confirms that the intruder travels in the ventilation system and can access areas that are not in the station's blueprints. Song theorizes that the intruder is a human survivor of the original Balhi crew. It doesn't take long before the virus starts to work its way through his body, with strange water droplets internally dropping down his neck. Su-chan's infection continues to spread. He profusely vomits water all over the floor. Unable to stop, Dr. Hong comes racing into the main hub area, grabbing towels and hazmat suits to try and stop the flow of water. Despite puncturing the lung and attempting to clear out the water, it's no good, and it soon spurts frantically into the air like a fountain. As Su-chan looks over at the glass, he loses consciousness and dies. Just like all the others, he finds himself drowning. When Dr. Song finds out, she speaks in confidence to Dr. Hong about the hidden files that are located somewhere in the station. When Captain Han shows up, she immediately straightens and decides to do an autopsy after all. They need to figure out what killed Su-chan and the others before it's too late. Captain Han meanwhile heads into the vents and begins searching for the creature. In a scene that feels ripped right from Alien, Han and a few of his colleagues check the scanner and notice the reading fast approaching. However, it appears to be in another part of the facility as it passes right over them. When Dr. Song returns to the main group, she confirms that all the other bodies have the same cause of death. This, coupled with Dr. Hong's autopsy, confirms that the infection occurred from the inside out. Only, strangely, all the crew were in perfect health when they died, with no virus or bacteria to speak of. Suchin's blood is also completely discolored but appears to hold a separate layer of something unrecognizable. Dr. Song reflects back on the creature she encountered and realizes that this thing may well be more complicated than they first thought. Could it be a surviving crew member? She certainly thinks so and believes if this man or woman rationed their food and water, it's possible they survive. Captain Han remains determined to lead by example, deciding to track down the survivors and complete their mission. Captain Han in the past walked past the water distribution center to the hospital. His daughter is in a rough way and in fact, she may never walk again. This shows more of his character and his motivations for why he's doing this mission. Han Yunjae volunteers to go outside in his spacesuit to manually retrieve the necessary components and fix the system. Heading down the elevator shaft. As one of the elevators begins to ascend, Han manages to move just in time to avoid the oncoming lift as it propels to the top and slams into the station. Han soon finds himself slammed down and strung upside down in the elevator shaft. Even worse, after being pinballed against the sides like a ragdoll, his oxygen system is damaged. With Tae-suk communicating over the radio, he helps talk Han through what to do with the systems to get him out of this predicament. And just in time too. He makes it back and replenishes his oxygen before it's too late. When the captain recovers, he receives a strange communication coming from outside the station. It seems to be emanating from Storage 3, which is the same room where Jisoo was killed. When the team shows up, there's no one there. However, they do find an old communicator on Jisoo which seems to hint that he's a rogue agent and was working with someone else outside the group. It could well be that Jisoo is responsible for tampering with the biosignals too, but that remains to be seen. Back at Balhi Station, Jian and Hong both examine the water and notice it looks to be distilled. Jian and Dr. Hong discuss just what Suchin's symptoms are and how he could have produced that much water. They analyze that the water in Suchin's blood acts like a virus and multiplies rapidly when in contact with living tissue. They confront Han, who admits that he was told by Director Choi that the samples they are collecting is lunar water, though he is unaware of its effects. Lunar water was originally discovered by Song's sister, Song Wonkyang, and the government has been hiding its existence for fear that other parties might figure out how to make it safe for human consumption first and monopolize the substance. Han and Song find a deep hollow basement full of plants. The crew, exploring the basement, find an abundant mass of plant life grown from lunar water, and come across a storage room that is not in the station's blueprints, and which contains hundreds of capsule samples in good condition. Heesun and E1 notice something out in the hallways, a figure that moves at frightening speed. The others head out into the hallway, where E1 winds up having his arm ripped clean off. Whoever this person is, they're incredibly nimble and avoid a barrage of gunshots, skipping up the tree like a monkey and only stopped by a burst pipe being struck, slowing her path, who appears to be a human girl but is unnaturally fast and strong. One of the crew members is wounded by the girl and bleeds out. One of the samples of water breaks and reacts with E1's blood on the ground. As the water begins to multiply, the others abandon their posts and grab the briefcase of samples. Sirens begin wailing as the others head up the ladder again to safety. The team believes that this young girl, whoever she is also after the samples. She seems to be protective of it, but her freakish strength and speed are still a mystery. Choi insists they kill the child to prevent others from finding other capsules. As the broadcast ends, the scene lingers on a picture of Choi and a young girl. A young girl who looks suspiciously like the one from the underground storage area. Dr. Song decided to dig deeper into the research conducted at Balhi. She heads to the station's main computer system in hopes of retrieving more classified information. She believes that if she can access the full research logs, she will find out what really happened to the original research team, including her late sister Song Won-kyung. when Dr. Song logs into the system, she quickly realizes that all critical research data has been erased. The files on the lunar water experiments and the true purpose of Balhi Station are gone. It appears that someone deliberately wiped the system before they arrived, possibly to prevent anyone from discovering the truth. Han Yun-jae heads down to level 1 to try and find the intruder while his other crew members check out the dorms. After scouring and finding spatters of blood, he is reunited with his team. Han Yun-jae notes that the intruder knows her way around better than them. Ryu is revealed to be a corporate spy who has been sabotaging the mission, ostensibly affiliated with the same organization as Jisoo had been. When was left alone with an injured E2, and begins taking the samples. When Jian and Hong return to the lab, he pretends that he has his orders to take them to Han. Luna 073 suddenly appears at the entrance, standing quietly and staring at them. Tae-suk immediately shoots her, which leads to a big standoff. Dr. Song tries to calm the young girl down, and she's suddenly surrounded by all the crew. Song slowly puts the sample down in front of the intruder and nods at her. As this strange girl looks at Dr. Song, her eyes blink horizontally. Song notices the name tag on her lab coat is her sister's name. A lunar water sample capsule is compromised and splashes over her, as she turns and reveals inhuman parts of her anatomy, her cheeks open and close, which, instead of resulting in a fatal reaction, heals her wounds and allows her to escape. Dr. Song locks up the rest of the lunar water in the refrigerated containers. With it safe for now, the crew deliberated over what to do about the girl. Song theorizes that the girl has a condition or immunity that makes her compatible with lunar water, and that she may be the key to making lunar water safe for consumption back on Earth. Han heads back to the conference room and communicates with Mr. Kim. He confirms that Choi was the one who ordered the station to be shut down originally. Beyond that tidbit of information, he refuses to disclose more, imploring Han to look deeper within the station for clues. The group makes a plan to capture a young girl. She could well be the key to all of this, especially if she's tolerant to the lunar water. Tae-suk speaks to his American contact on the phone and tells them they need to change the plan. He immediately takes the samples and hurries off, leaving E2 on the counter. E2 notices Tae-suk is leaving with lunar water and immediately follows him. Tae-suk kills him and hides his body. Back to the plan to trap the intruder, Song and Ko sense that the young girl is nearby. She leaves one of the vents and approaches Song, who is holding a water sample. Song places the water sample down. Han grabs Song and shuts the doors to trap the intruder, but unfortunately, the young girl's leg ends up trapped under the door, which puts her in a lot of pain. She bites Song, who notices she has a stamped label on the back of her neck Luna 073. Han shoots a tranquilizer at her, and Song opens the door, so she's no longer in pain. Ryu Tae-suk suddenly activates gate closures on the station, which sets off the alarms. The young girl escapes, so Song Jian chases after her with a sample and heads into the vents. One by one, each crew member is trapped behind closed doors. Kim's son manages to escape, and he makes his way to the command center. He learns that only a few areas were shut down. Tae-suk's master plan is to make sure the others aren't around for the pickup when the rescue ship shows. Meanwhile, Dr. Hong learns that all the water samples are gone, and she also finds E2's dead body in the freezer. Dr. Song finds the young girl, who appears to have been waiting for her. They both head down a shaft. This leads Song to a private dorm with plenty of notes on the wall. There's a window in this dorm that looks out to the moon's landscape, and Earth can be seen in the distance. She talks to the young girl and manages to find a way to communicate with her without scaring her. Song sees some photos on the young girl's bed and looks at them. There are photos of her sister. She looks over at the young girl, and she must be wondering what her connection is with her sister. Dr. Hong confirms that E2 is dead due to a gun wound to the chest. She also confirms that the water samples are gone, and Ryu Tae-suk is still missing. Kim's son reaches the command center, and he's instructed to find Ryu Tae-suk and Song Jian immediately. Ryu Tae-suk approaches Kim's son with a gun. He tells Kim's son to turn around so he can remove his earpiece. He then shoots his leg and asks where Song Jian is. Kim's son manages to get up and fight Ryu Tae-suk, He holds one of the water samples and threatens to break it unless he stops. Ryu Tae-suk shoots him again, wounding him badly this time, and he drops the water. The lunar water mixes with his blood and begins to multiply. Kim-sun then starts to vomit water endlessly until he dies. Song Jian continues to look after the young girl and inspect the private dorm. She finds a data brick. There's a lunar water response test file. A video appears in the window. They tested the water on a goldfish. The tests then focus on human clones. Subject 1, Luna 001, died immediately, drowning in her multiplying water. They used many subjects labeled Luna. Many young women die at the hands of these scientific experiments. While Song Jian watches the video, Dr. Hong finds a room with body bags hung up with all the dead test subjects. Han Yunjae finds Dr. Hong, and he's horrified by what he sees. In the video, Luna 073, the young girl survives the test, the same young girl that has lurked around the station. Song Jian then watches a video by her sister. She explains how the higher-ups are urging them to use humans as tests. She notes if they succeed, they will save humanity. Ryu Tae-suk tries activating the air purification systems. While Tae-suk is busy with the filtrations, Captain Han and Dr. Hong sneak down from the vents. And they find Kim-sun dead after the water kills him. They quickly power up the console, opening every single gate. That also allows Soo-hyuk to head over to Luna's cabin, intent on killing her. Chief Gong finds them. He wants to shoot the girl. Dr. Song stops this though, shielding her from a potential bullet, but the captain orders him not to kill her. Han Yunjae finds Ryu Tae-suk, which leads to a fight between them. He has a chance to kill the traitor, but he hesitates. Ryu Tae-suk tells the captain that he does not know what happened here or what lunar water is. They end up pointing their guns at each other, but then water starts dripping on Ryu Tae-suk. The filtration system completely malfunctions and spouts of water out of the vents and into space. As they head down a corridor, drops of water fall in front of Song. When she looks up, she sees there's too much pressure in the pipes. This is due to the secret storage area and the air pressure system activated by Ryu Tae-suk. A drop lands on her cheek. Various areas of the station start exploding with water. The finale opens with a flashback of the station. Gate closures were activated, and everyone panicked. Many people were trapped by the closed gates and were forced to remain at the station and die. Now, on the station, it turns out Director Choi made a grave decision to trap everyone aboard the station and try to keep the accident on Balhi a secret. She closed the gates while armed guards kept all of those inside at bay. This explains the numerous dead bodies piled in the storage rooms. In the present day, the water is destroying the research station. Song Jian talks about human experimentation using clones and how the result is Luna. Dr. Hong is frustrated, knowing the higher-ups will not believe them. Song Jian thinks this is why Director Choi chose her to be on this mission, thinking she would not disclose the atrocities. Song looks at her frail hands. The drop of water that landed on her is starting to impact her. She locks herself in a room, not wanting to contaminate her crew members. She begins to vomit water endlessly, and Luna looks at her through the window. After she wakes up, her symptoms are improving. Dr. Hong deduces that this could well be to do with Luna's DNA, which seems to serve as an antibody of sorts. She could well be the key to preventing the infection and saving the world. Han Yunjae learns that Ryu Tae-suk was working with RX mercenaries. 2 ships are heading their way. One is RX, and the other is their escape ship. They need a plan. Mr. Kim tells the crew that Luna will be sent to a military-grade facility when they arrive on Earth. Song suggests that they take her to the International Institute of Space Biology, a space station, and neutral territory, to ensure both Luna's safety and that the benefits of further researching the lunar water will be shared with everyone. Han believes she'll be in danger regardless of where she goes due to the need for lunar water. He wants to complete the mission for his daughter's sake. Suddenly, Luna puts her ears to the ground. She can hear the water. Song Jian thinks they should follow her, believing she's behaving this way on purpose. Suddenly water bursts at the end of the corridor, and the remaining crew has to run. When they reach Gate 7, they are faced with Ryu Tae-suk, who is struggling with the infection. Han Yunjae tries to calm him down with the water slowly coming behind them. Ryu Tae-suk asks Han Yunjae why he pretends he didn't know what they did. He believes they don't deserve lunar water. Ryu Tae-suk apologizes to Song Jian and states their rescue ship isn't coming. Flashbacks showed Ryu Tae-suk on the station before the tragedy 5 years ago. He closed the gates on all the crew members, leaving them destined to die. Running out of time, Chief Gong shoots Ryu Tae-suk so they can keep advancing. He is shot in return too. When they get closer to safety, Chief Gong collapses from the gun wound and dies. Once again, another casualty. In an emotional moment, Han Yunjae decides to leave the room and pull the lever on the air depressurization to sacrifice himself and save the others. Song tries to persuade him because he has a child on Earth, but he tells her that she goes wherever Luna goes. Dr. Hong and Song Jian then head out onto the moon to look for Luna. And as they do, the de-air pressurized water hits them. It's turned solid. Han Yunji's actions saved them. Both women continue walking the moon's surface, looking for Luna, but there's no sign of her at first. They find her, standing on a mound, looking at Earth in awe. Luna can survive exposure to the moon's vacuum without a spacesuit. She turns around, and there's a slight smile on her face. The young girl wants to go there. Luna then walks to the moon's surface and finds a dying Han Yunjae. And then, a ship arrives. A rescue team successfully picks up the surviving crew and samples. The finale brings an emotional closure to the first season, leaving the future uncertain despite more questions answered. If you enjoyed diving deep into the story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to stay updated.